Well, some transfer speculation, which we'll get to in a second, but something that looks like it's pretty much a done deal, Stevie. Our colleagues at ESPN Brazil reporting that a fee has been agreed between Newcastle and Arsenal, 70 million rising to 80 million regarding performance-related bonuses for Bruno Guimarães to move to the Premier League champions. Does this move make sense to you from an Arsenal perspective?
Oh, from Arsenal point of view, absolutely it does. It makes them stronger. It makes them better. If they can get him and 70 million right now for him seems like a great deal. Can't believe I'm saying that. 70 mil, and I'm saying that's a great deal. When you think of the money that's been thrown around for the likes of Anderson, it's kind of hard not to go to the Newcastle end, to be honest with you, Mark.
Of course.
I mean, I just try to figure out, is there a revolution going on there, or is there a collapse going on there? I'm not quite sure. It seems like a collapse. But in terms of Guimarães, I think this is a super signing from Arsenal. The old cliches, at your strongest, sign and make yourself better. And that's exactly what they've done.
Well, I was going to give Rob the question about where it leaves Newcastle, because another transfer speculation we're going to speak about is Lewis Hall to Manchester United. There's going to be anybody left for their opening game against Liverpool? Where does it leave them?
Well, I mean, right now they look to be in an absolute mess. They've lost Anthony Gordon. They've lost, or going to lose Bruno Guimarães. I think Arsenal are quite confident now of getting that deal over the line. Sandro Tonali's gone to Tottenham. They've lost the manager. I think it's very, very telling that Eddie Howe's not decided to go at the end of last season. He started pre-season and then decided to go. That suggests to me that he felt that there was some kind of plan in place to replace these players and has been told, you're not going to get what you need. And he's thought, well, I need to protect my own reputation then, and I'm not going to take charge of you next season. I'm going to look after myself and quit. I would worry for Newcastle, because those four players that we've mentioned, if they were to lose Lewis Hall as well, are really key, or have been really key to what they've tried to do. And I do feel sorry for Newcastle fans, because at one stage they looked like they had a team that were only a couple of players away from giving a real good go to a proper title challenge. I didn't think that they were missing that many more parts, really. And instead of taking that next step, which I imagine lots of Newcastle fans thought they would do because of the money that their owners have in Saudi Arabia, actually it's gone the other way, and they've lost their top players over the last 2 years, 18 months, and now they're looking at having to replace them. And it doesn't take... The issue with the Premier League right now is that if you get your recruitment right, then there's an opportunity to push into those top 6 and 4 positions and get European football. If you don't get your recruitment right and you make a few mistakes, the Premier League is so competitive that you can find yourself very, very quickly being at the wrong end of the table and in a relegation fight. And you only have to look at what Tottenham have done over the last 2 years to know that even the biggest clubs, there might be people sat here going, well, Newcastle would never be in a relegation fight. Well, people would have never said that about Tottenham 2 years ago, and they have been in the last 2 years. They finished 17th twice. Now, I'm not suggesting that Newcastle are quite there yet, but if they don't get recruitment decisions right, if this new manager doesn't work out, the Premier League is so competitive that you can find yourself down there. And it only takes a run of 10 games where you don't win, that you're right in the mire, and it's very, very hard to get yourself out. So I hope for Newcastle fans' sake, and Newcastle as a football club, because they're a massive club, I hope for their sake that they can get a few decent players through the door and get some recruitment decisions right, because this is a really pivotal, crucial summer for them now.
You worried a lot about Newcastle, Stevie?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, over the last 20 years, this team's been, in terms of the size of the club, you could say they've kind of yo-yoed a little. They have, how many times have they been relegated in the last 20 years? Is it 3?
Yeah.
So I'm sure Newcastle fans know what that smells like while it's happening, and maybe even before it happens, because everything that's going on right now at Newcastle is all doom, gloom, negative, and I'm 100% with Rob here. You can very quickly find yourself at the bottom, and once you're down there, it's really, really hard to get out of it. As Spurs showed us over the last 2 seasons. So, yeah, it's a tough time to be a Newcastle fan, I think they'll all be thinking about relegation, because right now, I mean, who's the starting 11? Could you put 5? Could you put 5 or 6 on the table right now and say they're going to be starting against Liverpool? I can't.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a tough one. And if they lose Lewis Hall to Manchester United, that just compounds the misery. The final player linked with moves elsewhere. Stevie, will stick with you for this one. Cody Gakpo, Liverpool player linked with Spurs. Surplus to requirement? I don't think so, but whether or not he's a first name on the team sheet, what's your thoughts about this link of Gakpo heading for North London?
Well, right now, it's a really simple, straightforward answer. Not a chance they can let him go. And it's got nothing to do whether he's good enough or he's one of the better players or he's a starter. It's a body. Right now, Liverpool don't have any bodies with any experience. That's probably a better way to put it. They got plenty of bodies that could play. We've seen a ton of young guys in pre-season. But playing young guys to give experienced players or guys in the World Cup a break is a whole different ball game than playing in the Premier League. And right now, Liverpool is not in a position where they can let anybody go, and certainly not Gakpo. So, yeah, this is right now a complete and utter non-starter.
It's one of these, Rob, isn't it? As Stevie says, you're not doing anything right now until you see if a Barcola deal can get done or another deal can get done. Barcelona were another team, as well as Spurs, linked with Cody Gakpo. I mentioned the transfer window closing on the 1st of September. Do you expect Gakpo still to be a Liverpool player when it closes?
I think that depends on what other business they can do. I mean, I think if you can get Barcola through the door and maybe you get another one that maybe you look at it and say, well, can we make some money off Cody Gakpo? And if Tottenham have got money to spend and they want to revamp their forward line, maybe there's an option there to do it. But I'm with Stevie. Until you know exactly what your squad is going to look like at the end of the transfer window, you can't risk losing a player who you desperately need, and not have someone in as a ready-made replacement. I think Liverpool, I would expect Liverpool to bring in a few more names before the deadline. It seems to be when I've heard Iraola talk, it seems like he expects at least a couple to come in. Obviously, you've got a massive player to replace in Mo Salah. So if they can bring in the right player, maybe it is Bradley Barcola from PSG. If they can bring in the right players, maybe you could look at offloading one or two. But until you sort that, you can't leave yourself short, because if you leave yourself short, again, I've just mentioned there about Newcastle struggling. If you get recruitment decisions wrong, you can have a terrible season. Now, I'm not suggesting for a second that Liverpool will sink towards the relegation places, but Liverpool really should be looking at challenging for the title and at the very least finishing in the top 4. If you get recruitment decisions right, there's a chance to do that. If you get them wrong, you can very, very easily slip towards sort of mid-table and not be in contention for anything. And that would be a shame for Iraola to start on the wrong foot, because I think he's a fantastic manager, but he does need the right players.
Yeah, one thing is for sure, Spurs have already spent more than 200 million in this window on transfers. And if they wanted to get Cody Gakpo, they'd probably have to spend at least a third of that to get the Dutchman. But don't expect anything to happen soon. If it does, as Rob and Stevie have said, Liverpool need to get bodies in first. Thanks for your company today. My name is Mark Donaldson. We'll see you again soon on ESPN FC Live. Bye for now.